Hey guys, Jessie here from Urban Legends Antiques, and this week I'm trying out Melange, the paint line from Sugar Land, Texas. I'm a big fan of the colors she mixes, and I'm really excited to try out her paint. So let's get started.
So here's the nightstand I'm gonna do. I'm not a fan of the color of it or the paint job. The orange and the green is not for me, but I do like the bones of it. There's a spot here on the top that needs some extra work done on it, and we're going to sand this down and see what's underneath it. Cute little 2-drawer nightstand. The feet are iron, and someone painted them this orange and green color again, but they're really heavy and sturdy, and I'm excited to work on this piece. So first thing up, I have my sander with 150 grit sandpaper on it, and I'm just going over the top lightly. I'm working on this corner now to see what is underneath it. Y'all know this sander has a mind of its own. As I was sanding this corner down, trying to figure out why it was raised so weird, this piece started to come up, and I realized that it was glue, like wood glue, that had been used to cover this corner, but it had never been clamped down, so it was still raised. MDF is tiny particles of wood that are glued together into a board, which is why MDF is also called particle board. As soon as I sanded up that big piece of glue, I knew that underneath the veneer of this nightstand was particle board. It's too late in the process now to try and glue and clamp down the MDF, so I'm going to sand through the veneer until I get to the MDF and try and sand it smooth. This looks pretty good, pretty even. Now I'm going to sand the drawers of the nightstand as well. I was worried that the flowers had been decoupaged onto the nightstand, but it actually looks like they were hand painted. And then while sanding, guess what else I found? A third drawer. It didn't have a handle on it, so I didn't realize it was a drawer until it started to move, but it's a happy bonus. To repair the water damage, I'm using painter's putty, and I'm going over the area where I had sanded, trying to fill in any holes and then give a smooth, even layer to the top of the nightstand. While that area dries, I'm going to clean the rest of the nightstand off. Now that the painter's mud has dried, I'm using a 220 grit sanding block, and I'm sanding very, very gently over this area. You aren't trying to sand through the painter's putty, you're just trying to smooth out the surface of it a little bit. Because this piece has some weird colors, the orange and the green, I'm going to give everything a quick shellac. I chose Vagabond Blue Black by Melange to paint this nightstand in. I'm a huge fan of Melange. I love her colors. And I noticed that it's really close to Chalky Chick's #1 bestseller, Denali. Look at how close these two colors are. No wonder I like it so much. An 8-ounce jar of Melange paint is not enough to paint 2 nightstands. It's enough to spray 1. It only goes up to the 200 ml mark on my hopper. I already know that's not enough to spray 2 nightstands, so I'm just gonna water it down a little bit and see what I get. One of the benefits to spraying paint versus hand painting is that it's quicker, but you use up a lot more paint. From experience, I know I have enough to spray 2 coats of paint onto my nightstand from 1 8-ounce jar of paint, but that's it.
That is an empty jar of paint. There's always a sense of accomplishment when you use every last bit. I even got it off the lid. Oh yeah.
Here comes the fun part, time to paint. I'm going over the drawers first in smooth, even layers. I'm going nice and slow, not jiggling my spray gun, just taking my time, trying to make sure that I get good coverage. And this paint does give good coverage. I'm really impressed. Here's another close-up of the Melange going over that orangey tone. It's working really well. Now that the base is all done, it's time to finish the top. I'm going to show you how to mimic a wood grain look. You're going to spray the top first. Next, take a 4-inch brush made for staining wood and dry brush over the repair. Do not use any pressure when doing this, just lightly drag over the paint. Then give a light spray over the area that you just dry brushed. Try not to do perfect straight lines when you're doing this dry brush technique. Wood does not have perfect straight lines. It has an organic feel, so it's okay if there's a bit of a swirl. The nightstands are dry. It's time to use my favorite clear coat, Rust-Oleum Matte Clear. I'm doing 2 coats of clear coat over the entire piece. The Melange paint went over the cast iron feet beautifully and gave really good coverage. The cast iron feet are getting clear coat as well. Now to do the drawers and then let the piece dry before I start to wax. The nightstand is painted and clear coated and it's dried. So at this point you can call it done if you wanted to. I just wanted to add a little black wax to the details of the piece to make them pop. I'm using the Jolie finishing wax in black. I found this old paintbrush that had never been cleaned. It was really dry, so I just cleaned it up real quick and now it's my wax brush. To do this technique, you just dab your brush into the wax and then lightly brush it onto whatever details you want to pop. I'm also feathering around the edges of the flowers here a little bit just for a little dimension and interest. Once the wax is on, you want to take a paper towel and just wipe it back a little bit. You're taking back some of the harder lines of the wax and just getting it to fill into all of the little curves and edges for a nice pretty finish. Make sure when you're doing this technique that you work in sections at a time and not wax the whole piece and then go back and wipe it off. At this point the wax is still soft and it will blend into all of those lovely little edges. If you wait until afterwards, the wax can dry a little bit and then it will streak instead of blend. I'm also adding the wax into the edges of the drawers for a little dimension and interest. It'll give a lovely shading effect when the piece is done. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Urban Legends Antiques. I also have a website with items available for shipping, www.urbanlegendsantiques.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our videos and share this video with your family and friends. And here she is all done, painted in Melange's Vagabond Blue Black, and then I used the Rust-Oleum clear coat on it and added a little bit of Jolie black wax to the edges to add some dimension and interest. For comparison, I also painted the 3-drawer dresser in Melange's Bohemian Gold, but this one I hand painted. I was able to get 2.5 coats in the Bohemian Gold by hand painting versus 2 coats spraying on the 2-drawer nightstand.
And remember, this is with an 8-ounce jar of paint.
All right, well, that's it for this week. I sprayed a piece and then I wanted to see how it would work if I hand painted as well, just to see the difference in how much paint you would get for coverage. So I was able to do a nightstand, 1 nightstand only sprayed, and I was able to get 2 coats out of it. And then I was able to hand paint a 3-drawer dresser, and I was able to get 2.5 coats out of 1 jar of paint. I'm Jessie from Urban Legends Antiques, and thanks for coming along for the ride.